Hello, the internet. I've mentioned that I'm getting ready to go to Patagonia, and in anticipation of that, I wanted to get four-wheel drive on my van, but it was going to be a pretty significant investment, so I didn't want to invest that much money into a regular gas engine, because that's kind of been one of my big things this whole time that it's kind of bothered me. I believe you vote. The only real meaningful way that any of us vote is with our dollar, how we spend our money. The number one thing that I put my money into right now is gasoline for my vehicle. It's where 90% of my money goes. And the oil industry is perhaps one of the most destructive industries in the world, and I am supporting it every day with my dollars. And so I've been wanting to convert into, get a diesel engine and convert it to a biodiesel. And then I can run it on used vegetable oil, and then both car and driver will be powered by vegetables. As you can see, I've got the Bat Van up on a hoist right here at my buddy's shop. I have a buyer lined up. I just have a few things I gotta fix on it. One of them right now is the power steering, which has been leaking for quite a while that I've been needing to fix. And then the pitman arm, and just a few things with the steering, getting that all repaired and running really awesome so the next person can really enjoy the Bat Van. And once that's sold, I'm looking at several options. I haven't really decided on my next vehicle yet, but it will definitely be a diesel. It will most likely be a Cummins engine because they're really reliable. Probably the 12 valve as opposed to the 24 valve because it gets way better gas mileage. I'm looking at either the Cummins 6BT or the 4BT. The 4BTs are a little bit harder to find, but they're just as reliable and get way better gas mileage. And I'm hoping to be able to find a step van, which are like what you see like FedEx and UPS type drivers driving. So, and Cummins are just really known as pretty much the most reliable diesel you can get. So I pretty well have my heart set on a Cummins. And a nice thing about a lot of these step vans I found is they have Cummins engines and Allison transmission, which is pretty much the best drivetrain combo you could ever think to put together. And so I'm looking at a few options. Unfortunately, most of the ones I found aren't the ones that get the really great fuel economy. But if I can get 15 miles to the gallon with the veggie oil conversion, that'll be with a tank that gets me about 1,200 miles per tank. I think I can do with that. And eventually I need to add four-wheel drive to it, which is the whole reason why I'm switching to a diesel, because I wanted the four-wheel drive, but I didn't want to invest it into the Bat Van because it's a gas engine. Front and rear winches, all that stuff. I basically just want to have my van, my next van with solar, all that, everything, so that if I found myself out in the middle of the wilderness in some country that I don't know a soul, and I get into a bad situation, I'm going to be able to work my way out of it. So the four-wheel drive, the front and rear winches, the solar power, making everything as sustainable as possible and self-contained as possible. I was also talking to a guy who I've been working for lately doing day labor, just like demolition work, jackhammering and stuff like that. And he is interested in doing the same thing as me, but he's looking at getting an old box truck and converting that. And one of the systems he was talking about that I thought was really neat, that I want to incorporate into mine, that I haven't seen any van dwellers do, is he's going to have a system that has, it'll be a water purification system where basically you can just take a hose off the van, stick it into a river, pump water up into the van, and filter it. And then you've got your clean drinking water, which is great because if like you're in third world countries or places where the water isn't necessarily safe, it's nice to be able to just go to a nice clean artesian source of water and then filter it yourself, and then you know you've got plenty of clean water. I don't sit down and watch TV programs that much because I feel like most everything on TV nowadays is just garbage. But I found myself in front of a TV with Netflix, and I started browsing for something to watch, and I came across something, a TV show I believe is called the Kindness Diaries. And basically he's just a guy that travels around the world for this TV series, and he relies on just the kindness of strangers. No money is ever exchanged for anything. It's kind of one of his rules. And there's other like modifications to the show, say like at the end when there's somebody who's paid a really tremendous kindness on him that was really in need, he repays a very large kindness back to them. Now that's not something I'm necessarily going to be able to do because I'm not wealthy the way that he is, that he can, he's kind of like a secret millionaire, you know what I mean? But it's a cool concept. But I thought, how neat would that be to do something like that as not just a TV show, but as, daily or weekly content as a blog. And so I'm thinking about doing it, and I'm thinking about calling it The Missionary. Like, imagine missionaries for different churches that travel the world and kind of spread their gospel. Well, that's what I'm doing. But I'm spreading my gospel of kindness, gift economics, and minimalism. And, Henry Rollins, if you guys don't know who that is, he's a really awesome, I guess you could just call him a speaker. He started off in a band called Black Flag, and then he started doing these speaking tours. And there's a lot of really great content in what he has to say. He's very articulate and kind soul, big heart. And as I was watching his talks, he had one in which he talks about, he started going around the world based off of fear-mongering. So if President Bush was like, don't go to this place because they're all evil there and it's a scary place to go, he books a ticket and goes there immediately. And kind of the goal was to show that, no matter where you go, kindness is the human standard. Whenever you see somebody in need, your natural instinct is to help. And I see that everywhere I go. And I do believe that is a default mode of human beings. I think when we see people in need of help, we try to help. And so I want to travel the world doing volunteer work, working strictly off gift economics. And where my only expense before was gasoline, with the veggie oil conversion, that allows me to just go to places that have used vegetable oil and ask them to give it to me as a gift. It still falls completely in line with my ethics of being gift economics. And I thought, well, this could be a very realistic goal. I could really travel the world in a veggie-powered van, living strictly off of kindness. And so, I guess that's it in a nutshell. That's what I want to do. I think I'm going to start a new channel soon, or at least maybe a new playlist on this channel, and call it The Missionary. And I'm going to start my journey at the end of this year, once I have my new van completely built out and I start heading south towards Patagonia. I'm going to make that trip moneyless. I guess there's going to be a few exceptions that are just unavoidable. For example, I have to have insurance. I can't risk not having insurance. I've been told, like when traveling through Mexico and stuff like that, if you get pulled over, the police will write you a ticket, but most of them would rather you just pay them a little bit of money, and you kind of just play the game with them, like, it's going to be this much of a fine, can I just pay you now instead of having to go and do that later? And of course they'll just pocket the money and take it as a bribe, basically. But it saves you from having to go through the whole court process and paying the fine. So there's probably things I imagine I'm going to need money for. I've debated whether or not I'm going to pay something like $50 to $100 a month to have a wireless internet connection. I'm probably going to need that. The internet and Facebook and things like that have made this type of lifestyle that I live possible because it's a resource. It's a huge network of people, and anytime, let's say I felt like I wanted to go to Texas for some reason, well then I'll just go onto Facebook and I'll start looking up volunteer groups in Texas and try to find some volunteer work somewhere in the general area of where I want to go. And then I'll get it lined up before I go, so that by the time I get there, I've got people that are expecting me, and I've got something lined up that I can do, and that's basically how I've traveled for the last 7 years. It's just by networking with people online. So, and then also doing these videos, I'm going to need an internet connection to be able to upload and share the story. Let's see. So I'm going to be here in Utah until the end of the year, and the fellow I'm working for right now doing this day labor has offered to hire me on, and I could probably stay busy with him until the end of the year and be making money the whole time to get the van really, really situated. And the cool thing is, since I said this guy is also building out a box van and is wanting to do this type of a lifestyle, he'd mentioned Patagonia somewhere he's always wanted to go. And so now we're talking about actually building our rigs together, and whenever I go to Patagonia, he's gonna caravan out there with me. Now, this is a really huge benefit because this guy is a very skilled carpenter. I mean, he's a foreman. That's what he does for a living. He does, plumbing, he does HVAC and heating, he does electrical, he does drywall, he does general construction, he does everything. He's a really, really skilled construction guy. He knows all of his stuff really, really well. And he has a shop, and he has all the tools, and he has the desire to help, and he's also in need of doing a YouTube channel and getting some graphics, maybe some commercials for his business. And so here it is, another really great opportunity to do trade work and have this mutually beneficial relationship where he can help me build out my van and have it done much better than I would ever be able to build it myself. And I can create value for him in terms of what I offer in my services of video production and graphic design and logo and corporate identity. I've started another channel that I'm kind of managing, and it's for the animal sanctuary that I volunteer at called Ching Farm Animal Sanctuary, and I'll include a link so you guys can check that out. And that channel is basically, I'm just going to start doing like animal interviews for each one of the animals that are living there at the sanctuary to get their whole story so people can kind of learn about that. We're eventually going to do like vegan cooking shows, informational stuff about like, let's say you were like a lot of the pigs that they have there were like little, teacup, pot-bellied pigs that people got. They were kind of popular as pets for a while, and then they grow up and they're, big 400-pound, 500-pound pig, and then people ditch them, and then they end up in these sanctuaries. And so it would be nice to do informational videos to get out there for people who are interested in getting pigs, to give them all the facts before they do it and let them realize what they're actually getting into. So education is a huge part of what Ching Farm does. And they have this new education center that they recently built because of a very generous donor. It donated all the money to build this awesome educational center. And now they're really ramping up the education part of what they do. And so the channel is going to be an integral part of that. And I'm hoping that a lot of you guys that are into animal rights will subscribe to that channel and support what they're doing. Oh, I had a really awesome jam session which I recorded, just a few pieces of. Unfortunately, when you get into a jam session, you're not really trying to film, you're just being in the moment. But I went to Ching Farm and they were having like a singing bowl session, kind of like a little hippie get together, and I got there and everybody had brought an instrument, and I didn't realize that was something you're supposed to do. But luckily I had my ukulele out in the van, and so I brought it in, and we had like a little jam session there at the education center, so that was pretty cool. I talked to my buddy Frank, and the last time I went and hung out with him, we were talking about Kindburger, and his wife is a really phenomenal cook, and she'd been talking about wanting to do a business like a food truck or something like that, and they'd seen that I was doing Kindburger, and they were interested in possibly buying in. As much as I love the idea of Kindburger and I want to invest some time into it, the more I started investing into building it, I just felt like it was draining me and it was taking too much of my focus away from other things, and I didn't want to end up doing the business and getting it started, then the next thing you know, it's just that's what I do now, and then I've given up everything else just to do this. Now, it's important to me not because I wanted to make money. I wanted to make money for animal sanctuaries. But I know for the model to be successful, it actually has to generate profit for whoever the owner is. I'm hoping what they'll agree to is that if I put all the time into basically getting it branded, built, advertised, and funded, that they will handle all the business sides of everything, and in turn, it's their business. I want them to have it. I want them to own it. I just want them to promise to pledge a certain percentage of that money to go to animal sanctuaries. Now I feel like this is a way to move forward where it can still happen. I can still fulfill my end of it and provide this business for everybody and provide this revenue source for the sanctuaries. But then I'm also providing a business opportunity for my friend. Well, that's all I have for everybody right now. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section and I will definitely answer them. And thanks for watching. Peace.